Welcome back to another episode of Just a Podcast. I am here today with Hannah, Mother, and just as always, we're just going to jump right into it.
You know what? I was one of those kids that would sit around in my room. I had my parents buy me a whiteboard and I'd put all my stuffed animals in a line and I'd pretend I was their teacher and I'd call on them and I'd play with them that way and with my dolls. It was just very characteristic of me. And then I got into theater when I was like probably 4 or 5
Okay.
and dancing and singing. So yeah, it's been a long road, but it's
Yeah.
fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that reminds me of when I was younger. I would always have my action figures, and at some point, I would start recording and I would do improv. I would set up the conflict, I would set up their motives on the spot. There would just be conversations back and forth. Maybe the villain comes in, and I didn't know how to edit back then. Back in the day, it was nothing but a whole one shot. When I needed to change the scenery, you could see me place the camera down, and you could hear scuffling in the background as I'm trying to set the next scene, and then I pick up the camera, and then okay, inside the layer of
We're back
Batman.
into
Yeah, a
it.
little narration just to give the audience, oh, okay, we're in the new scene.
This is where we're
Boom.
going.
Yeah.
No, that's so would you say that you're more of like an editing emphasis kind of individual or what's your cup of tea?
I enjoy editing is quite a beast, I have to say. There's so many elements needed to understand what you're doing, and I have a basic idea of it. When it comes to VFX, that is out of my field at the moment. That is a very complex thing. You have to film it a certain way to get the effect right, to make it look as if it's actually happening in that environment or if it's a weapon that the character is using, and that is something I have not been able to do. But I would say most of the creative side, very visual with setting up characters, fleshing them out, and things like that.
Probably the most important part of it all,
Yeah.
honestly, is what you love doing. So
Mm-hmm.
got to be
Everything about
very smart in that aspect. Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I tried writing. It was not for me. I could not get
Oh,
characters.
okay.
Couldn't do it. Could not do it. I don't have the brain to do that, unfortunately. I wish.
Yeah. I didn't like it at first, but then I started to notice I have a lot of ideas. And you can't walk into a studio and say, hey, here's my idea. And that's it. They're going to say, okay, quick, do you have a script? And then you're going to go, well, I was thinking you guys can write it for me. What do you think? Huh? When you're in the producer's room, everyone's looking at you saying,
Oh
no,
boy.
that's kind of your job, really. We don't write the script, but thank you anyway. We'll see the next person, and then you
On to the next.
walk
Yep.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. It's honestly kind of the same way with actors though too, because you can like I showed up to a set one day, and they were like, so what do you think about this character? And it was the first set where they fully were like, tell us what you want to do, give us what you want to do. And I was like, I thought you guys like, were gonna tell me, like I'm used to
Mm.
like buy the book, like tell me what you want me to do. So having that like creative freedom was so nice. But then you hear on the other end, they're like, you do it all, we take the credit. That's like how it goes.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing, because sometimes I try to write scripts in a way that if we end up not liking or I don't like the dialogue, the actor has enough to where, okay, I kind of know what's going on. I know my motives here. Michael wants me to improv it. Boom. I know how to make the things flow, get the rhythm going. That's what I try to do. As long as they have an idea of the dialogue, okay, so this is what's going on. It helps
Mhm.
them if I ever say, I didn't really like this line. Why don't you kind of do your own spin here and let's see if that works.
It's honestly, I feel like a lot of people don't understand how much of like in a way an honor it is as like an actor, like going onto someone else's set and project and being told, improv it, have fun, like play around with it, because it shows how much you guys trust us, I guess is the best way to say it, that
Yeah.
we're going to do the best for your project without being told what to do. And it definitely, I think, allows for a lot of creative freedom too, where you get to bond with each other on something that's important to you and something that's important to
hmm
them.
When it comes to projects, do you find the bonding aspect important? Do you and the crew members get together maybe at a pizza shop, sit down and talk about the story, but more so it's just that hang out. Hey, what type of movie did you watch as a kid? What did you do? Or how's life going for you? That type of thing. Is that something that you try to do with your work and the projects you get involved in?
Yeah, you know what? It's funny you say that. My favorite part about being on set isn't necessarily performing. My favorite part on set is becoming friends with the crew members and getting to know where they're from and just having fun and laughing and being comfortable. Like I was getting mic'd and I suck at putting mics on myself. Like that, I have a reputation for that because it's complicated.
hmm
And the last set I was on, the sound guy was like, here's your mic, Hannah. And I was like crap, like I need you to love me up. And he was
hmm
like, he said something and I immediately hit him back with the I love you. And he was like, so it was funny. And then we joked around a lot on set. And honestly, I have very bad separation anxiety. And so saying goodbye to some of the crew has been very hard
Yeah.
for me because like yes, it's professional and like not personal, but you get really close to these people
hmm
and it's so special.
Yeah. I met a wonderful student last semester in my one of my screenwriting courses. His name is Colin Fisher, and he was a wonderful glad I got to sit down with him and do a podcast with him. He was an absolute delight to have on the show, and I remember with him graduating last semester, he was going back to Washington, where he actually lives. He comes down to Phoenix for school. And that was really the only reason why he was coming down was for school. That was really the only thing. And December 18th comes around. It's the last day of school for that semester. And him and his friend were getting lunch. And I got a picture with him. And I found myself walking with him to the area where there's food. I wasn't getting anything. I just couldn't find a way. Okay, see you later. So I'm just tagging along the road. And at some point, I realized, you can't follow him to his dorm. There's a point where you just have to say your goodbyes, and it's not over. You will hopefully reunite in the future again, but for now, you gotta say your goodbyes, and then that's what I ended up doing. But it was so tough. I wanted to walk in the restaurant on campus they were going into, but just standing off to the side as they ordered their food. But I knew it was just gonna continue and prolong, and so I gotta pull
Gotta
back
go.
here.
Yeah, no, especially I think with COVID too, saying goodbye is so much harder because
Yeah,
in the good old days, you used to be able to hug and like go out and hang out and get very comfortable, maybe, have a few drinks. But now, like you just kind of gotta from 6 feet away be like, bye,
yeah.
So I get that. And like the not wanting to leave too. I feel like COVID makes it harder to want to leave, like you just want to
hmm
stay with someone.
Right.
So I get that.
And you never know when you see someone, you want to give them a hug, and then you go, oh, you see both people freeze out. They're getting ready to do their usual thing. You both freeze. They go, oh, hey, buddy, how's it going? Let's do the
Mhm.
elbow jab. There we go.
Yeah, I can definitely say I'm very much so one of those physical touch people. So not
Hmm.
being able to hug, or like go over someone's shoulder and be like, how did that take come out? Or, like let's meet up for coffee and go over the script. It's hard,
Yeah.
It's very sad,
Yeah.
but gotta stay safe. So
Right. I always wondered with projects now, how does it work? I know, of course, when actors are acting, they have to take off their mask, but do you keep it on when you're jumping to certain locations? Let's say a house where you have one scene in the kitchen and in the living room. How does that work?
So now, actually, most of the footage from my reel is from during COVID shoots.
Okay.
So the way it works now is you hand sanitize every 2 minutes, you keep your distance of 6 feet,
Wow.
you have a mask on, you have a plexiglass shield on, and then the second that for rehearsals too, and then the second that they're ready to do a take, then you remove it all and then you put it back on. But you also do get tested before the
Ooh,
shoot.
okay.
Your temperature is taken the second you get to shoot. You have to say like a bunch of or answer a bunch of questions about how you're feeling, who you've been around. Um, that's really it. It's not too bad of a difference. They're smaller sets now,
Right.
which sucks because I love having the writers on set because
Mm,
I'm trying to make their baby come to life. So not having them there is definitely difficult.
right.
Um, but other than that, I mean, I do have a funny story. So when I was on set, um, they went to go do a take and we all had our masks on and me and the other actors were like, let's just not say anything, like maybe we misheard them, and like as actors you never want to get in the way or
Mm,
meddle, and so you just kind of do what you're told. And they said we're doing a take. They didn't take off our protective wear, so we were like, okay, I guess we're going for it. And then at the end of the take they were like, yeah, we messed up. And so we were like, hey, make it more realistic. It's
yeah.
COVID. Maybe they
Mhm.
were wearing masks. But it was funny. We all laughed.
Yeah. Man, they should have something like a hose. All right, everybody, get in line. We're gonna hose you down. We got some human Lysol that won't hurt your eyes or burn your skin. Here we go. So, hose you down.
That would be a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the actors probably won't like it, but hey,
Yeah,
hey.
a little machine that drops a mist type of sanitizing liquid on you, and then you walk out, and then the next, and then next person drops on them. That'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I've worked on probably 6 or 7 sets since the pandemic started, which I'm very grateful for because I know some people who haven't had the opportunity to work. Um, and actually, on one of my sets, it was a 3-day shoot, and we were on our very last day of shooting, and our director left. He said he had like a family emergency. And then about 2 hours pass, and the first AD comes out, and he's like, everyone's got to leave. Looks at the actors and is like, all of you need to go get tested right now. And of course, as actors are like, oh my God, did one of
Oh,
us test
yeah.
positive? Like, who could have tested positive? Like, we're the only ones not wearing masks. This is so scary. And it turned out it was our director who tested positive on the last day of shooting. And all of us were like, oh my God. And it was the weekend before Thanksgiving break of this most recent year. And
Oh,
I was like, I started crying. I was like, I was supposed to go home. I ruined Thanksgiving. Never came back positive. I tested multiple times. I came back negative, thank God. But it was it was wild, but it does go to
mm,
show you that the PPE works. So hey,
yeah.
you know.
And have you ever done a project outside of the state before?
I have never
Okay.
done a project outside of the state. I've worked with Chapman, and then I've also worked with USC, and I've done some other small projects up in Los Angeles County. But other than that, no, I haven't. I mean, that would obviously be a dream, that'd be so much fun. I would
Hmm.
love to shoot in Atlanta one day. I would love to shoot there. I'd love to shoot in Canada one day. But
Okay.
yeah, dream big.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Have you done any theater shows currently, or are there any you're looking at, any listings or anything of that sort?
Yeah, so with theater, it's a little hard now because I think my professors were saying live theater is not supposed to come back for a little bit longer. The last theatrical production I did was Dracula
Oh,
in 2017. I was a
okay.
senior in high school, so 4 years ago. And I was Van Helsing, if you're familiar with who that is. Um,
I don't think so.
the professor who is the one who tracks Dracula down, maybe
Oh,
if you're.
okay.
Yes, so that was me. That was a lot of fun because no one was expecting a girl to be cast as that role. So that
Hmm.
was a huge honor. I had to learn the German accent for it. I had to learn the British accent for it. I had to learn Cockney for it. It was so much fun. And then I got to Chapman and started really focusing on film work. And I just realized that my passion for theater had kind of left a bit. So I'm not
Hmm.
necessarily interested in going back to it anytime soon because I did it for 15 years.
Right.
But it's so much fun. It's so much fun. And it's so different from being like on a film set. So different.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was always wanting to kind of do it in elementary school, but when you're doing it with, the director and someone assisting that way, then the crew, that's it. And then the curtains open opening night, you got the full crowd of people, and I would always see actors. I remember in high school, I don't remember the name of the play, but it's about this building that burns down, this factory that burns down. It was in the early 20th century. I don't remember if it was a clothing factory or something, but anyway, these three ladies that are doing overtime. There's a fire, and then there's an investigation that happens, and one of the actors had a door from the investigation, if you will, and he was handing it to the other actor. And I guess the arms weren't close enough that dropped, and then the actor went and picked it up and then handed it to him. You could hear the thump hit the ground.
Yeah.
Oh, oh no! How's he gonna handle
Yeah.
this? Is he gonna improv? Oh, let me pick this up here, and here we go. But as a kid, I was really scared, and I don't think my attention could last that long because the concession items were way in the back, and those sugar cookies with that icing and the sprinkles on top. First thing when I walk into where the cook oh there they are, the left hand side, they're $1 each. Okay, I know what I'm spending my allowance money on. That's for certain. Those cookies right
Yes.
there. And I think on stage,
Yeah.
that's where my focus would be. Those cookies on the left hand side of the concessions table.
No, I have a few funny stories from my time in theater. Um, there was one actually from Dracula because we used dry ice in the production. And
Ooh,
yeah, and we had to
yeah.
be very careful around it. And of course, the dry ice was only when we were in Dracula's castle. And there was a very dark scene. And it was, I think, the last show. And I had to like get low. And I realized on my skirt, it was like it had some of it on it. And it was still kind of like going off. And I
Mm.
looked down on it and I was like, something's not right here. And
Mhm.
without thinking about it, I brushed it off and I had a burn then on my finger for about
Oh,
like a month. I never said a word about it. I didn't want anyone to freak out, but I remember being like, I should have known better.
yeah.
There was also a time when I was probably 8 years old. Like I was so little, and I was in Seussical the musical, and I was Cindy Lou Who.
Oh,
And I was very nervous, very excited because I had my first solo. I was, one of the Who's that people would know.
right.
And I had a water bottle in my hair to make it stick up. And I leaned out of the curtain because I wanted to try and find my mom and dad. And the director like pulled me by the hair and was like, "You can't do that." And it was traumatizing. I then had to have my hair fixed. And I was like, oh, okay, this is serious. Like, can't
This
mess
is
around here.
serious. Yeah.
Yeah, some goodies.
Mm-hmm. Ian. Oh, that's quite a scary situation right there. Man, yeah, elementary school, that was quite a time for me. I enjoyed it very much, and every now and again, you'll look through yearbooks and certain memories will hit you and you'll go, man, you just yesterday I was watching Hannah Montana and High School Musical and poof, I'm in college, poof, just like that.
Yeah, I was like, for an example, I was on TikTok the other day and I saw this person posted being like, oh, like the older generations won't understand this. And it was like basically everyone born in the 90s and like first 2 or 3 years of 2000. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa. Like, we are not the older generation here. Like,
Yeah.
take it down a notch.
I also think that we can also continue to show this to the younger individuals. There's always this the young kids won't understand these shows. So, well, you can always show them these shows. It's not like they get locked away in a vault and no more DVDs are released. They still get put in Best Buy and things like that. I'm sure there's a record at season 1 through 4 DVD in Best Buy somewhere. So nothing really disappears. They still sell those things. Kids can still watch what we grew up with.
Hmm. I was I have three nephews. So I have
Okay,
a 10 or 11-year-old nephew who can't remember. I think he's 11.
okay,
I have a 7-year-old nephew, or 8 now, and then I have a 3-year-old nephew. And they always like tell me, they're like, SpongeBob is bad for you, this, and that. And I'm like, whoa, I grew up on SpongeBob. What do you mean it's bad for you?
yeah.
And like they'll like try and explain it to me, and I'm like, whoa, whoa, hey.
That is not okay. SpongeBob is great.
I think it formed our generation, to be
Mm-hmm.
honest with you, but that's just me.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
What characters from your youth do you think you've subtly taken inspiration from, whether that be TV show characters in film that there's a spider web connection to multiple characters that come attached to the center of the web for you.
That's a really good question. I don't know if they'd be like specific characters,
Okay.
but there's definitely specific actors I think who have really inspired me to work on my brand, to keep going, to like push myself. Like I would say definitely Rachel McAdams,
Okay.
Amy Adams, um, um, Amanda Seyfried. I always butcher her name,
Okay.
but definitely people like that. I would say I've always looked at them and been like, you know what, they've brought it. Like Rachel McAdams did The Notebook and Mean Girls in the
Yeah.
same year, and I'm like,
Wow. Yeah.
Like the range.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, because I grew up on Hannah Montana, A Sweet Life
Mm-hmm.
of Zach and Cody, That's So Raven. So I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't think Hannah Montana inspired me.
Okay.
Definitely inspired me to dye my hair blonde for a bit,
Right.
but yeah, but it's definitely like key actors, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man. What about voice acting? Have you ever dabbled into that area?
I've I don't know if this counts or not. I was supposed to shoot a TV pilot last week actually, but then it
Okay.
got halted because of COVID. Um, and it's such a fun project. I was so excited for it. The cast is incredible, the crew is incredible. And it's just a character I've never gotten to play, like
Okay.
ever. Like she's on acid the entire time.
Wow.
And I personally have never dabbled with that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh my God, this will be so fun. I was watching videos on YouTube of people being like, just did this. And I'm like, oh my God. Um, and then because COVID got halted, the crew is basically like, well, we don't want to stop this production. Like, we're going to pick it up sooner or someday, sooner than later, hopefully. So they decided to turn it into a podcast format of the
Okay.
script. So I did that. That was fun. But it was also very difficult, to be honest with
Mm-hmm.
you, because I wasn't getting that, you know, feeling of, oh my God, well, they said it this way and they're coming towards me like this. So I'm going to, go like that.
Right.
It was kind of just being like, okay, I feel like their tone of their voice is not very happy.
Yeah.
That was fun though. Very fun.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely want to work a bit more in that so I can hopefully get a little bit better at it. But that was a
Right.
lot of fun. And I had the mic too. I felt so like
Oh,
legit.
yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, imagine with a podcast format, you only get one shot, whereas in the booth, you say no 250 times, and then the director goes, "Okay, we're gonna use take 97 out of 250. That's the one we like the most." And, hours in the booth, just saying certain things so many times, so many ways, and it's crazy. I've seen so many behind the scenes of B-roll of actors in animated films and things like that, and they say, yeah, so many ways and variations, they want you to say it and do it and perform it. It's very demanding in a way because you're limited to
Hmm.
just the voice and not, everything else.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, I believe it was called Ponyo with Noah Cyrus, maybe
Okay.
like years ago. But I remember that was when I was like, oh my God, that must be so much fun trying to like act for an image. Like, that
Mm-hmm.
must be so cool. But then I'm also just like, that's got to be so hard,
Yeah.
you know? But definitely very cool. Definitely something if I ever got the opportunity to do, I
Right.
would do it. Don't think I could do anything like Big Mouth or Family Guy. I
Okay.
don't know if I'd be able to pull that stuff off. Um, but hey, you never know, you know?
Mm-hmm. What type of genre are you drawn to? Fantasy, thriller, action comedy. What do you say you gravitate the most towards?
Like for myself when I want to watch or what I typically get cast in.
What you like to watch?
Okay, I'm for sure a comedy girl.
Okay.
Um, I love comedy. If you can get me to laugh and make me remember a line for the rest of my life, like that is all I ask for.
Right.
Um, I do like thriller. I'm not a big gore slash jump scare kind of
Yeah.
person.
Ooh.
I can't do I
It's-
can't do it
yeah.
because then I'm just on edge the entire time and filled with anxiety and I just can't
Right.
then connect with the movie. Horror, no, 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 no.
Right.
Um, Drama, I do love me a good drama, especially if it's like a romantic drama. Love a good cry.
Right.
Gotta admit it.
The only way I would watch a horror film is if someone has the off house cookies from the theater production concession items. Say, Michael, if you watch A Quiet Place Part Two, these are yours. I would say, sold. Let's sit down and watch it. Here we go.
You know what? You're a lot easier than me because I would not do that. I think I need like a brand new car to say yes to
Okay.
that because
Yeah.
I I watched did you ever watch The Terrifier, I think?
Oh, no, I don't think I have.
I believe it's on Netflix or Hulu. I watched
Oh,
that my sophomore year of college, so 2 years ago now. I'm still traumatized by it. Like I cannot do horror. Like
mhm.
every time like if I look like in a corner, I'm like, "Oh my God, it's the clown." Just scares the heck out of me. Can't do
Yeah.
it.
Ooh, whoa, what's going on here?
Can't do it.
Yeah, horror, with horror, when you're sleeping, it's always when you wake up in the morning. And for some reason, your brain tells you there is a figure outside of
Yeah.
your door. And if you make too much noise
Gonna
or
come
make a
closer.
particular movement, it will open the door, grab you, and take you out. And when I got
Yeah.
that thought in my head, I remained frozen. I tried to keep my breathing as silent as possible. And whenever I would hear something in my room fall over or make a noise, I would slightly jump and then I would look right at the door as quietly as possible. And there's nothing going on outside, but your brain, your mind convinces you, there's
It plays
something out
games
there. It's
with you.
gonna get me.
It plays games with you. It's really bad.
Yeah.
I still like I live in a one-story house here in Orange, but
Mhm.
back home in Los Angeles, like my parents have a two-story house. And I'm closer to 22 now than 21, very proud of it. If the second I turn off those lights downstairs, I book it upstairs. You got to, because you don't
Yeah.
know. Like, you never know. Definitely one of those people.
Right. It was interesting because I would always have tasks to do more than my sister and brother. That required me to go downstairs, whether it was to get my dad's bag of chips. It was always me having to go down those stairs and turn on the lights. Hey, Michael, can you just give me the bag of chips and Doritos? I picked down the stairs. It's dark. There's no light. There's no kitchen light. And I'm looking back at my dad saying, do you know what's down there? Do you know the risks I must endure to even get down there and make it back? And, he's just watching, Boomerang with Huckleberry Finn and, those types of shows. And going down there in the dark, it's a whole new experience.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't help too because I was definitely, and I still am the person where if I know someone's coming and it's dark, I'll hide and
Hmm.
then pop out at them. I have no issue doing that to people. I laugh hysterically, scaring people. But the second someone does it to me,
It's like, ooh, whoa.
it's like, how dare you?
Hmm. Man.
But
What would you say is an area in film that you'd like to learn more about?
um, definitely the producing side.
Okay.
I'd love to learn more about that. I produced an IP level film here at Chapman,
Wow.
which is about a 3-page script.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that was fun, but it was also just a lot to handle,
Right.
especially with permits.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Ooh, Burmese.
with
Yeah.
permits, and I actually found out the day before we were supposed to film, I still hadn't gotten the paperwork back, and I was like, something's not right.
Yeah.
And I called them, and they were like, "You're missing a signature," and I'm like, "Oh my God!" But luckily, it all worked
Yeah.
out. It all worked out, but I was like, "Oh my Lord, this is oh,
Yeah.
it was a lot." But I feel
Mm-hmm.
like producer, like I just feel like that's something like where if you can produce a film or a TV show or a commercial, like you can do anything, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion. You got to be so smart. Maybe not edit, obviously, because
Mm-hmm.
that is a lot. But
Oh, man.
yeah,
I remember seeing a photo on Reddit of the editing timeline for Endgame. It is just nothing but stacked stuff on the editing time. It is huge. It is a massive timeline of the footage and then the sound effects and then the graphics and then the VFX and then the music cues and the text. It was massive. Whoa. My gosh. Yeah, we noticed that 159.17 there was a little, you have to trace back there and fix that little edit. That must be something else.
I mean, hey, that's why they always say like the actor's best friend isn't the director, it's the editor.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know.
Cut some out and clean it up, get a better shot or something like that. Man, do you guys work on a practicum of sorts or a final project that is done to industry level standards that you kind of knock um, that semester off with kind of the checklist? Okay, this is the last class we do, and off we go.
We do. So that would technically be our thesis class, especially for the
Okay.
screen actors. So that's about another 2 to 3 page script. Um, and we are shooting those in the month of April this year.
Okay.
Everyone only has one partner, so it'll be a super small set. We already have our scripts. That's essentially it. And that's what we're going to send out once we do our showcase to agents and managers, which is very exciting. But other than that, yeah, we do a practicum at my school, but it's more so of if you're in the theater college, you do 4 shows where you basically crew and help and all of that. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
if you're a screen actor, which is the major I'm in, you do 2. So I got all of those done my freshman year. I was like, I'm
Okay.
not waiting on these. I'm
Boom,
getting
boom,
them
boom, boom, boom.
done.
Check.
Yeah, because you hear about these seniors who like hold off and wait, and then they
Yep.
just don't get them done. And then
Right.
graduation comes and they're like, help. And our department head is like, I don't know what to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we do that.
Okay.
But yeah, our films, I believe, there's a bunch of different ones. So like freshman through senior film production students all kind of deal with that. And then the actors just kind of audition for whatever they can and just hope and pray. But then you also have LA actors auditioning. You have people who aren't in the acting schools
Yeah.
auditioning. So it's still a very competitive bubble here, which
Mm-hmm.
I think is good. Obviously, there were times I was like, dang it, like I got beat by, this person who doesn't even go here. But it's like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, like you gotta be prepared. So
Right.
it's good. Yeah.
Man. Yeah, it's an interesting thing, man. What type of eateries does Chapman have? Do they have top tier level eateries, or is it, the classics like a McDonald's or something on campus? If I saw that, I'd be mind blown.
Our campus, so on obviously off campus, there's plenty of awesome places to go
Okay.
here in Orange.
Mm-hmm.
But on campus, we had like an off-brand Subway, and then we had an
Oh,
off, yeah, and then we had an off-brand Chipotle.
oh my gosh.
But we did have a Starbucks and a Jamba Juice.
Mm-hmm.
We did have an Einstein's, the bagel place. I don't know if you're
Right.
familiar with
Mm-hmm.
it. So yeah, there were a few options. I never really ate on campus just because I'm not a good eater around people. I get a little
Uh,
embarrassed, I'd say.
okay.
Yeah, very weird, but it was always very popular to see like
Yeah.
friends there. I always got Starbucks. I won't lie. I won't lie about
Okay.
that one.
Yeah, I used to be a bit embarrassed myself. I remember one time my mom, she was a PTA president for some time, and I would go into her office and she said, I like to treat it to pizza. I have those, or I like to treat it to a good sense sub from Good Sense. What do you want? And I eat it, and I remember one day I was wolfing down must have been a Pizza Hut pizza, and she was in there kind of doing her own thing. And the teacher walked in, and I believe it was the teacher that noticed how fast I was eating the pizza and said, "Boy, I don't remember the way she said it, but it was something like, boy, it's almost as if it wasn't placed down before you or something like that." And I remember, oh gosh. Oh man, I mean I was comfortable here. I was eating at my pace that I do. I'm sorry, I eat like the Tasmanian devil. It's just zoom and done. I can't help that. And now I've been targeted, and it took a while for me to get back to that pace. As long as she was in the room, it was okay. Slowly wait, chew for
I
5 minutes, put it down, and yeah.
No, I used to be just like you. I used to eat so fast. Like I could have an entire plate of food in front of me and it'd be gone within 2 minutes. Um, but then when I got my first boyfriend back in high school, I was like, oh my God, like he wants to go out to eat. I have to be
Mhm.
like super girly. He can't think this of me.
Yeah.
And I had maybe like a fourth of the plate. And then I was like, I'm full. And that since then, I have not been the same.
Okay.
Not been the same. But I'm like, you know what? I used to eat like a linebacker.
Right.
So
Most of my portions look like it's a quarterback or some Dwayne Johnson eats on a Saturday afternoon. The play, you go, whoa, that's for you. And I say, yes, it is. And I'm going to eat all of it. Thank you very much. And off I go.
that's the way it should be. Big eater,
Mm-hmm.
especially if it's good food.
Right.
I will admit to this, I could eat an entire batch of mashed potatoes
Oh,
easily.
okay.
Hmm.
Wow. I could probably eat a whole tub of ice cream, depending on the flavor. Depending on the
Okay.
flavor.
Okay. So which flavor?
I had a very strong mint chocolate chip phase as a kid. It blew up out of the blue. One day I said, I just gotta have, where is it? I need mint chocolate chip. Stacked in the house. When I open up the freezer, I gotta see Blue Bunny, mint chocolate chip ice cream at the bottom. I'm eating it with my honey made graham crackers. Very strange combination. I don't know what was going on in my head, but that was the combo then. But I would say now it would probably be the basics, vanilla, chocolate, maybe if they have nuts in it or something. Very just the classics.
I respect that.
Hmm. I think Kid Me was able to consume all the flavors that he wanted. And I remember my fifth grade teacher one day, I think we all did great on our Ames tests. And he said, you all guys do great on your Ames test. I will bring in strawberry shortcake pops to class. And we did good. And we had those strawberry shortcake pops. And I took the first bite and I was taken to a alternate dimension for 15 seconds. It felt like with that first bite. And then I was brought back into myself and realized this is the best pop I have consumed in my life. And I just had to know where he got it. But I think I got an idea of the brand he must have purchased. Took me a decade plus worth of trying to figure out the specific brand, but I think I know what it might be.
Interesting.
Mhm.
It's like your own little thriller trying
Right.
to figure it all out.
What is it? 12 o'clock at night, 12-year-old me is trying to search on Google.
Yeah. No, that's awesome though.
Mm,
I used to have the biggest sweet tooth in the world. Like
okay.
I never had a single cavity up until I was 16 or 17 years old. And everyone was like, how is this possible? And then I went to the dentist one day and he was like, yeah, you have like 9 cavities. And I was like,
No. It's
so that sweet tooth, I think, was obliterated.
mhm.
Um, and then I will crave like a good like chocolate mousse cheesecake like every
Okay.
once in a while and be like, oh, that sounds so good. And then when I get it, I'll have like one bite and be like, ugh.
Yeah.
Cupcakes, I used to be really stubborn. Like, I don't know if they did this at your elementary school, but we used to like on birthdays, we'd go out of class early and go to the tables, and like the moms would bring cupcakes or
Right.
cake, cookies or whatever. And I remember the cupcakes that would have like the fancy designs on them or the rings always
Mhm.
tasted the absolute best.
Yes.
And I remember I would be the kid that would lick all of the icing off and would not touch like the cupcake cake part until like there was no icing whatsoever. And yeah, and now like when I do eat cupcakes, I usually scoop off most of the icing. I leave
Mhm.
like a very thin part just so it kind of adds some moisture to the cake. But yeah, I was a fiend, fiend for sweet.
Right.
Yeah, can't do it now because I
Mhm.
think I overdid it, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I'd say my fuse is flickering now, like a light flickering. It's okay if you're not careful. It goes out. You know,
Yep.
as a kid, I could eat a lot of Oreos, no problem. I eat 3 Oreos and I go, oh my gosh, the sugar is jabbing me at the teeth here. Let me stop here. I can't keep going. This is too much.
Yeah.
Have you ever been on a set where catering was brought to the crew?
Where catering?
Mm-hmm.
Um Actually every set I've been on, they've always been catered. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, every
okay.
set I've been on has been catered. When I directed a set, I supplied coffee, I supplied donuts, I supplied
Oh my gosh.
sandwiches for
Mm-hmm.
lunch, I had chips, waters. Um, but yeah, every set I've ever actually, the first set I did after COVID, after the pandemic started, I packed my own lunch because I had assumed that there was going to be no catering. We hadn't heard anything about dietary restrictions. So I was like, oh, yeah, like I for sure have to bring food. You know, it's a 12-hour day.
Oh, yeah.
And when lunch came around, I like took out my little baggie and everyone was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I was like, what? And they were
Yeah.
like, no, 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 like we got food. Like you're not allowed to bring food to set right now because of
Uh-oh.
COVID. And I was like, oh, well, okay. But I
Mm-hmm.
always I always bring like a little snack, or my roommates are very sweet. They always offer if I need anything, they'll come by. But yeah, I always just prepare just in case. But I've never been on a set that hasn't catered.
Okay, wow. I mean, that's how
Yeah.
you get the actor involved. So we were thinking of
Oh
this
yeah.
part for you. You know what? I don't really know about this part. We're having donuts. Sorry, what was it?
I'm in.
You lost me at the first bit,
I
but I
changed my
heard
mind.
donuts. Could you repeat that just one more time so I can hear that part? I'm sold. Here, well, when are we shooting?
Oh yeah. Now I think the best set had this delicious Italian restaurant cater. Like I'm
Okay.
talking 4 different pastas, 2 different garlic breads,
Oh,
so much. And I
oh my
literally was
gosh.
like, and on the set too, it was a set where it wasn't like a Hooters type thing, but it was one of those restaurants, and it was like a comedy about this like daughter and her mom going in, and like, or the son and his mom going in because he's going through like a coming of age type thing. So the mom takes him to like a Hooters type place, obviously, and all of us actors are like obviously dressed a lot more risque than this,
Mm-hmm.
and we go on our lunch break, and so we all are like stuffing down all of this like pasta and bread and having soda. And
Right.
then they're like, all right, lunch is over, like let's get on set. And all of us are like, we look like pregnant. How are we supposed
Mm-hmm.
to be on camera right now? Like supposed to look like these like, typical like
Right.
waitresses.
Mm-hmm.
And all of us were like, no. So we were all like in the back room, like doing like push-ups and
Yeah,
sit-ups and
1,
like
2,
jumping.
3.
Yeah, that was a good time.
Yeah. Yikes. And that's always the tough part when you have a scene where you're a superhero and you have to have that yeah moment reveal and you've been down in donuts on lunch break. I gotta do a quick run for an hour and a half. Can we hold
it's
off for a bit as I do that? You know?
it's also it's also the last set I was on was actually one of the main ones from my reel, the 911 phone call.
Mm-hmm.
And the person who was in the scene with me is one of my really dearest friends. And um the last part that we were shooting after lunch was the nighttime scene, which is the phone call, which is he gets really close into my face.
Mm-hmm.
And I we had just had Chipotle for lunch, and I like the corn with the jalapeno. I
Mm-hmm.
like sour cream. I like the guacamole, and I like the mild salsa. Obviously, my breath is not going to be that wonderful. So I think something too that people, like just don't even like never crosses their mind is just after like these actors eat or drink coffee or anything, and then you're face to face with another actor and they're just getting every little smell. And
Mm-hmm.
being an actor's like my POV, before any take, I'd look at my friend Riley and I'd be like, I am so sorry. I am so sorry you have to smell this, but you're going to deal with it and it's going to happen and it's going to be vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I actually got, I shot that 3 weeks ago, I want to say, just after the
Okay.
new year. And I was just cleaning my room one day, and I had just moved back to Orange from being home with the parents for Christmas break. And I got a Facebook message and it was like, hey, would you be interested? And they sent me the script, and I had assumed that I would just be like either crew or anything because the person who messaged me was someone I worked on a crew with. So I was like, oh, she probably is just reaching out because we worked together. She probably has a cast. Like it's shooting to like in a day. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
no way she needs a cast. And then she told me she was thinking about me for the female part. I was like, oh my God, like, yes. And then a few hours later, she was like, hey, I'm so sorry, but, we're going with another couple because they're in a quarantine COVID bubble together and just to be safe. And I was like, no worries. I'm so happy it worked out for you. It's a wonderful project. I can't wait to see it when it's done. Then a few hours later, she goes, I'm so sorry. I promise you, if you want this, we are locking you in right now. And I was like, yes, like, yes. Obviously, I'm sorry
Yes.
it didn't work out, but like,
Mm-hmm.
yes. And so memorized the script that night, was on set the next day, and they finished editing it within a week because it was for a film festival.
Mm-hmm.
And that set, believe it or not, was the most fun set I have ever been on. We were laughing the entire time. We were playing around. The take that they did for the slap scene was an actor's take because originally it was just like me pushing him off, like me very afraid of him. And then they were like, oh, like, do you guys want an actor's take? And me and Riley were like, yeah. And I was like, just a heads up, like, I'm going to do her retaliating, obviously. And then that's
Mm-hmm.
why I think she would call 911 to be like, oh my God, help, like I screwed up. And I looked at him and we were about to walk into this, like the camera. And I said, I was like, all right, here's what's going to happen. And he goes, I'm going to strangle you as hard as possible. I said, good. I'm going to slap you as hard as possible. And the second that they cut the take, everyone was like, can you
Mm-hmm.
guys please? Yeah, they were like, can you guys please hug? And we were like, what do you mean? What's wrong? Like, that was freaking fun.
Yeah.
So that was fun. That was a lot of fun. I
Yeah.
love talking about that one. I could talk
Yeah.
someone's ear off about that set.
Yeah.
Yeah.